Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Today we're going to talk about something that I think ends up being one of the gateways for a lot of us into the preparedness community, and that's the concept of EDC, or everyday carry. In short, what do you carry with you in your pockets, on your person, that are going to help you be more prepared for everyday situations which you may encounter? And this can be everything from the trivial administrative tasks, maybe it's just opening packages from Amazon like me, and you way too many of them. Or you're somebody who travels for work every day. You're in and out of some very austere environments, some dangerous areas perhaps, if you do some kind of blue collar work and you need to carry a firearm or something of that nature for self-defense. And we'll even get into your second line gear, i.e. what you may carry that isn't directly on your person but is within arm's reach, in something similar to maybe a go bag or a sling bag that maybe you carry with you in your vehicle at all times because you need that extra level of escalation to ensure that you're covered and prepared for whatever you think you may come across in your day-to-day activities. Before we get into this week's video, want to make sure you guys, if you're enjoying the content, if you like what we're doing here, make sure you hit the notification bell below. Make sure you hit the subscribe icon. Make sure you're not missing any of the content we're releasing. We're working very hard to release on either weekly or bi-weekly cadence so we can keep bringing more of this information to you guys, help you be better prepared individuals. With that, let's go ahead and jump into this week's video. So let's talk about EDC. And where most people start with that is where we're going to start here, and it's everyone jumps straight to the firearm. And I know a lot of people will tell you, and I will agree, that it's not the most important thing that you can carry with yourself daily, but it's the most important thing that people ask about, think about, and in a lot of cases it actually involves the greatest level of financial investment. So I'm going to tell you guys about how I got started with my EDC journey and what that looked like. I began with this firearm here, which is a Gen 1 Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, 9mm. And a couple things you guys will notice as I've grown and evolved in my journey, I got away from some of the tchotchke stuff you're going to see. So some of these anodized parts, like the metal mag release, like the the back plate here with the Decepticons logo. I got away from that stuff early on. I thought it was cool. It really isn't, but it was something I really wanted to invest in. And some of the limitations to some of these smaller firearms, because many people are attracted to them, similar to maybe like a P365, the difference between them being this only carried, what was this? 7 rounds out of the factory plus 1. So 7 plus 1, that's 8 rounds before you have to reload. In my opinion, 9mm, that puts you a step above a revolver, but barely. If you look, you can see it's a very slim frame, which is very attractive for concealed carry. However, it also makes it very snappy to shoot because of short barrel length and the overall small profile and footprint. And if you guys look at this compared to the size of my hand, this was not something that I was particularly comfortable with. Did not enjoy shooting this a lot. And as I was learning, comfort was a big thing for me. And I know a lot of people will tell you just buy a Glock, and I've certainly jumped on that bandwagon at times. Just buy a Glock. Don't worry about fitting your hand to the firearm. And I think that there's something to be said about that, except that there's some length and width considerations relative to the size of your hand that you should also take into consideration. We'll get into that later when we talk more about what I carry today. But so I took my magazines, so that my basic 7 rounder, put a base pad on so it's an 8 round. I was carrying with 9 rounds in the gun, and what I started with was this Etsy Kydex holster. I can't even tell you the name of the manufacturer, nor would I want to. It's not bad per se. It's just not very adjustable. It's kind of cringy carrying outside the waistband like this. Clicks in, really positive retention, but then it's also a little bit difficult to draw from. And I was convinced that I was not able to carry inside my waistband for better concealment, so I needed something like this. And it worked really well in the fall, winter, and spring months where I could wear something like what I'm wearing today, where I have extra material around my person to help drape over and cover this firearm. One of the considerations that people miss a lot is actually that you need to have a larger garment so you have extra material to hang over. It's not enough just to cover the firearm or the weapon or whatever may have you, but you want to make sure that it's not actually creating printing. So if I were to slide this under my shirt here, and you can see the outline and the print of that firearm on my hip, it doesn't actually do a whole lot to conceal it if you can still see the outline of it. Which, I mean, there's something to be said for that as well. People are mostly ignorant these days of those kinds of things, and a lot of instances are too caught up on their cell phones, but people can still notice, and you want to take the steps that you can to ensure that you're not printing that way. And for a lot of reasons, I think that's why people overlook the wardrobe piece of this, which you don't have to change how you dress. You just need to change maybe some of the sizes to how you dress. Give yourself a little bit of extra room. Maybe research some brands that are potentially built for concealed carry, although it's not really necessary. They're very expensive. They do offer some benefit, but I would not say it's worth the investment in most cases. Usually it's just a scam to charge you $120 for a flannel button-down shirt. They throw a logo on it and you can tell your friends about it, but past that, I don't know that there's really the value there. So this is what I was originally carrying outside the waistband, and I was carrying on the other side of my body with this very cringy device here, because I didn't know any better. So it had this really terrible Cree LED light. I don't even know what you would call this. It's not awful. Actually, it is awful. I'm sorry. It's terrible. But I thought because of the size that this would make a great EDC flashlight, and it really, really doesn't. It's LED powered by a Cree LED, which Cree makes good LEDs, but this particular light is not very good. It has a strobe function. You can even you can go ahead and you can actually tighten down the beam on it. Which I don't know why you would ever need to do that, but this is what I carried because I was outside the waistband for everything, and I bought a huge mag extension. So this is a 8-rounder for the Shield with a 2-round extension. So I had a 10-round backup magazine that I could carry and reload off of, and I would carry that back here at like my 7:30 position, and then I was carrying this back here at like my 4 o'clock. And the reason for that, guys, a lot of people think that you should carry further forward or at your 3 and 9, because that's where you might draw from for your duty holster, which really isn't true, but B, it's also the smallest portion of your body. I'm a pretty big guy. So if I put this, even as small as it is, on the smallest portion of my body, you're going to have the most printing. Whereas if I slide it just a little bit further backward, this is a larger surface area, and therefore it's going to aid me in concealing a little bit better. And I actually ran this setup together for probably almost a year, I think, when I got this is my first firearm, and I got my CPL, and I was, hey man, I'm cooking with acid, man, I'm in good shape. It wasn't until I actually talked to a salesman at a now closed sporting goods store that turned me on to a company here in Michigan, which I believe now went under, unfortunately, but a lot of people worked with them, and that is Multi-Holsters. And he was in the store, appendix carrying a Glock 43, and he had one of these. And I said, hey, he can do that. I can probably do that too. So I went to the Multi-Holsters site, and I picked up one of these, and I started carrying in the waistband. I was still carrying with like the gnarly FBI cant, and I was still carrying back here at my 4 o'clock, but at least it was in the waistband. And then I moved away from this monstrosity and started carrying in a more deliberate holster for the magazine, and I was able to carry this in the same position, same capability, better flashlight in my pocket, and then I was now actually concealing a little bit better, albeit still not as well as I think we probably could. Eventually, I did end up moving away from this. I tried a variety of different holsters when I moved into what I carry today, which is, well, one of the firearms I carry today, which is a Glock 43X. This is a Gen 1. You guys can see that it's the two-tone, and I've added a couple things to it. On all my guns, just because I have big hands, I do like extended mag releases. This is a metal release, and I'll talk more about that in a second. I did add a metal mag well here just to give me something to kind of push up on the bottom of my hand when I'm forming my grip. The downside to the Gen 1 of the 43X is there is no pick rail, so your weapon light options are limited to pretty much the TLR6, which is what this is from Streamlight, or I think Nightstick makes one that will clip on to the trigger guard. I did upgrade to Ameriglow. I think these are Hackathorn Ameriglow sights with a blacked out rear. Yep. And the 407K X2 red dot from HoloSun. So for slimmer dots, I know a lot of guys have some mixed feelings on Holosun. It's my opinion that this is the best one on the market in this footprint. Now, I haven't tried the RMR CC or some of the smaller ones. I think Vortex just came out with a Defender one this size. But at the time when I was going through all this, getting the slide cut, this is, or was, the best option on the market. And I moved to this platform for a couple reasons. One, I started shooting larger frame Glocks, and I wanted to have that continuity with the grip angle going from the larger frame, like a 19 or a 17 or a 45, down to my carry gun. So switched over to the Glock here. I did add some, this is Howie's hockey tape from Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is their pro tape. So I put this on all my grips for the most part. I just like it better than the factory texturing. And I switched this for a couple reasons. If you look, you can see here that the profile overall is longer and wider than what the Shield was, which meant I could get a better purchase on it and I had more to wrap my hand around, so I could build a better grip when I was presenting the firearm. Now, additionally, from the factory, this came with a 10+1 magazine, and that was flush fit. So moving up, I was going from a huge footprint, because if we look at what we're looking at here with the Shield and the overall length and footprint to get me 10 rounds into this gun. I mean, hey, it's goofy as shit looking, but if you look at that versus this, this is actually a slightly smaller package with a lot more capability with the dot and the light and the magazine, let alone if I were to extend the magazine. So I moved to the 43X. Then I learned of a company called Shield Arms and started getting their S15 metal body magazines, which you guys who know Glock, you know that Glock makes polymer mags, but these are made in that footprint, and because it's a thin wall magazine made out of metal, this actually holds 15 rounds here. So now, that's why I moved, by the way, to the metal mag releases, because metal on plastic will file down and wear down the plastic over time. Metal on metal, that won't happen. So you got to get their base plate to line up with the mag well and everything. However, this is what I carry periodically, depending on the weather and the season and things. So it's actually 16 if I put one in the chamber. Okay, this is a clear and safe weapon for everybody who's probably wondering. I switched to this, and I've been carrying it in the T-Rex Arms sidecar holster with a spare mag here and a Tier 1 concealment medium, 1-inch medium concealment wedge. This is more for comfort than anything, but it does help kind of push the firearm, because I'm a bigger guy, a little bit closer into the body to help with that printing and concealment. And for those who are wondering, I pretty much completely carry Hornady Critical Defense. Both my wife and I like Hornady ammo. It's very, very reliable, and this is probably one of the top personal defense rounds you can carry. I know they make Critical Duty as well, which I'm sure some of you guys probably carry in duty weapons if you're in law enforcement or something like that. And this is pretty much how I carry my firearm. I do prefer to have a spare magazine here over something like a tourniquet holster. Now, I will point out, we haven't gotten to it yet, but this is the Everyday Tourniquet from Snake Staff. This will actually fit in the standard magazine carrier. You can actually do that, and it's not going to go anywhere until you deploy it. I will say, though, I prefer carrying a spare ammo source, and the reason being that if you were to have to use your firearm, with modern firearms, especially like Glock, Smith & Wesson, SIG, right, typically your failures are going to be ammo and or magazine related. You're not, I mean, if you look at the numbers behind it, typically going to have an actual failure of the firearm itself. So what I would rather do in that situation is be able to drop that magazine, conduct an emergency reload, and get the gun back up and running, rather than only have one magazine, have to strip it out of the gun, work the problem, reinsert it, hope that the magazine itself didn't break a spring or the follower's not, fouled up or something goofy like that. I would rather have a spare ammo source and then carry a tourniquet in another manner. Now, continuing down this path, here's another sidecar. Again, it has the Tier 1 concealment medium wedge on it. This is a Glock 19. I will carry this in the winter months when the opportunity allows itself. And a little bit more options on what I can do with this firearm. I do shoot it a little better given the size of the gun, but given the size of the light and the barrel length, it is a little bit harder to conceal. I did also extend the mag release on this, and I did also add a mag well here. And if you guys are familiar with the Glock 19, which most of us no doubt are, 15+1, and then I can carry a spare magazine This one's got an extension, so it actually carries 17. So I have 32 rounds plus one in the gun is 33 rounds of ammunition, and that's all on my person. This one's fitted out with a 509T from Holosun, which is honestly, I think it's a great enclosed emitter dot. Again, a lot of people are not a big fan of Holosun, but for pistol dots, I think that these are some really, really worthwhile considerations if you're looking into a pistol dot that you can rely on. Have suppressor height sights on this that are blacked out, and then Surefire X300, not the turbo, with the gas pedal from Emissary Development, which did a video on. All of my full-size lights, I run the gas pedal because it's just, it's a great addition. But in terms of firearms, this is pretty much what I've been carrying for the last several years here, basically since 2020. It's been some combination of these two, just depending on situation and whatnot. Now, getting past the firearm piece into things you are probably really, really likely to use during your day, and we'll start with a watch. I try to carry a watch on my wrist every day, even though I work from home. And here's the thing, guys. You can't rely on your cell phone for everything. They run out of power, and if there is an EMP attack, which I'm not personally ultra concerned with, but a lot of people are, your smartwatch, your G-Shock will be somewhat useless. I think that having a watch like this is a Glycine Combat Sub, which I've been carrying and wearing for the last year and a half or so. I really, really like this, and it's an automatic. So there's no battery to change. Yes, you have to wind it periodically if you haven't worn it, which I haven't, so this one's actually got to be wound up. And there's a little bit of a learning curve to these where you do have to service these somewhat. And yes, some automatics are better than others due to the movement and things in them, and you may have to adjust the time on them every couple of days. But I do think that having a quote-unquote real watch, an analog watch here, is a much, much better alternative to smartwatches, aside from the fact that I think having more technology on us for tracking purposes probably not the best that we can do for ourselves. But really have liked this and really recommend the Combat Sub. I know Glycine, if you guys are watch guys, probably doesn't have the best reputation since being bought out by Invicta a couple years ago, but from what I've seen, they've actually maintained their quality standard and been pretty good. Some other ones that people really like, obviously Rolex, Seiko. There's a ton of watch brands out there. I'm not a super big watch guy because I just can't bring myself to drop $5,000 on a two-door or something like that. But there's a lot of good watches out there. I would just say just look at analog. And if you can't read an analog watch, like you should learn. Let's be real. Now, something I use more than anything else on my person is a knife, and I have a bunch of knives that I carry in a rotation for different and silly purposes. Usually it's opening packages, I'll be honest with you. So a couple good ones. This is the Benchmade Griptilian. It's a Mel Pardew design, and this one is in D2 steel. If you're not a knife guy, there's a couple different knife steels that you can get out there on the market. Some are better than others. D2 is starting to be really popular in the last several years because it's cheaper and it's a more rugged tool steel. More durable, meaning yes, it's going to take longer to sharpen, but it should also last longer and do better for you. But it's not the best out there. I like this one for the lock, the Axis lock that Benchmade has. When I got married, actually, my wife and I got back home and we bought matching Griptilians. She has the mini and I have the full size. So this one kind of near and dear to my heart, and the fidget factor on this is, probably annoying for everybody else, but I really like it. But American company, Benchmade, I know there's a thing in the news several years ago about them helping a sheriff's department destroy firearms, so some people are not super up on Benchmade, but they do make a quality knife, I will say that. And if you're looking for one, spending your money on one would not be a poor investment. Additionally, I will carry also Spyderco knives. You can usually tell what a Spyderco is because it's got the Spyder logo on it, but also the little finger hole or thumb hole. You can flick it open, you can flick it closed. This is the Tenacious. I think TRX Arms actually just started carrying these. I've had this one since before I was married. This is a Sweetest Day gift for my wife. And this is 8CR13 MOV steel. Again, if you're not a knife guy, this is probably the cheapest of steels, or some of the cheaper steel you'll see on the market. So companies like Kershaw, which is a more affordable knife brand, they used a lot of CR13 back in the day with a lot of their knives. It's not bad, but it's a bit softer. So yes, you can get it sharp pretty easily, but that means you're gonna have to sharpen it a lot more often. This one's been a little bit used, a little bit abused, but I still love it. I really like the leaf-shaped blade that the Spyderco knives have, just from a design aesthetic. Got some jimping back here, so if you wanted to squeeze down on it and press with your thumb for some kind of cutting, partially serrated. Spyderco Tenacious, these are like $50, $65 knives, something like that. Not bad. Comes with a pocket clip, obviously. G10 scales here, just plastic. Nothing special, but I do carry this one quite a bit. If you need something a little bit nicer, I'm big on that, dressing for your occasion, especially if you work in a white-collar job or you go out a lot with your wife and things. Doesn't mean you shouldn't be well prepared, just means you have to kind of address some of those things, and that's what I do with this Civivi Elementum. So it's got wood scales on it. I added a bead with some copper in it that kind of matches the wood grain on a little lanyard here. It's a deep carry pocket clip, meaning that the top of the clip's at the top of your pocket, so I just have this on here to help pull the knife out. Again, if I just need to open a package or something, it's got a little flipper tab on it there, and not a big deal. I think this is D2 as well. Yep, this is a D2 steel knife. A little bit less used, a little bit less abused. Really, really smooth action on this, but I like carrying it for nicer nights out. Which I'll usually, if I'm going out someplace, I will carry smaller items, so like a space pen, a Fisher Space Pen here that will write on almost anything, even if it's wet. Great option, especially during COVID when nobody wanted to touch stuff and pens were in short supply at restaurants and things, or even if you're going out with a group of friends, split the tab, you have your own pen, and this thing's super tiny, fits in your pocket really, really easily. And then I'll also usually carry a smaller flashlight if I'm dressed up, something that drops in my pocket, and it's just really good for administrative tasks. This is a lumen top, and a little bit brighter of a light with a couple power settings. You can see fits in the hand rather nicely. Has a pocket clip, which I could give a hoot less about, but this is about as small as I would recommend getting for a pocket light, and probably about as weak a power as I would recommend for a light. And usually this isn't my everyday light, it's just what I carry when I'm going out someplace nicer because it is more concealable. And you can get this on Amazon for like 45 or 50 bucks, I think, or at least it was when I bought mine. Now, if we're talking about when I leave the house, this bad boy, this is the MCH EDC 2.0, right? Yeah, MCH 2.0. It's the high candela dual fuel version from Cloud Defensive with a Theorem switchback 2.0 on here. Builds in a little pocket clip and a finger ring with a thumb pad. So if you wanted to use this administratively, you can. A couple power settings. Okay, really bright, and if you flip it forward, you can actually use the front of your middle finger, press down with your thumb to activate this light if you were using it in conjunction with a firearm. So if I were to pair this up with something without a weapon light, like an M&P Shield, I can still form my grip here, and I can still press against that and have most of a grip to be able to discharge that firearm. That is not my favorite. I don't use it for that. I usually will use it administratively, get it out of the way if I need to use my hands, and then can flip back to it. I do advocate really, really strongly for carrying a handheld light. You should not ever be the guy walking around searching for your car keys in the parking lot with your TLR6 trying to spotlight stuff on the ground. Don't be that guy. Don't flag somebody unnecessarily. Don't brandish your firearm, to use the legal term, unnecessarily. Be smart. Take something with you like a Cloud Defensive light. These are fantastic. If you want something a little bit cheaper, I carried a Streamlight Polytac. Those are like $65 lights for many years, and it was outstanding. I still have it. It's just an emergency light in my vehicle now, but can't recommend that one enough. Streamlight makes some outstanding flashlights, especially in the handheld market. Getting to medical. Talked about this earlier. This is the Everyday Tourniquet from Snake Staff Systems. I think they have a 2.0 coming out, but not the best option on the market for a carry tourniquet, but it is the best carry tourniquet in my opinion, because I mean, look how small that is. Like, here's a Shield magazine and here's the tourniquet. Like, here's the S15 magazine, 15 rounds ammo, here's the tourniquet. So footprint wise, if you can make room for a second spare mag, which some people feel the need to do, you can find room for this. Usually I will carry it in the fifth pocket here, the coin pocket on the jeans, and sticks down in there and kind of sits over the top of the pocket, and it's easy to deploy and grab if you need it. It does have a little chem light that's built into the side of it. If you need to crack that for any purpose to just make sure that first responders or somebody can see it and find out where the tourniquet is. They do make an elastic sleeve that I really should get that goes over this, and we'll go ahead and kind of protect this a little bit more. And then this dad wallet is Live the Creed. This is their, I think it's their EDC trauma kit. Great kit, fits in the back pocket. Just unvelcros open, and you can see in here you have things like some gloves. You have some Celox rapid ribbon in here. On the other side, we have a standard boo-boo kit, so some Band-Aids, an iodine pad, things like that. Just your ouchie stuff, not really super medical. And then a SWAT T tourniquet. So between this and the EDC tourniquet, you actually have 2 tourniquets on your person that you can deploy, your first line EDC that is, that you can deploy and be effective with. Now the last thing that we're going to talk about here goes into all of this, and that is the belt that you carry with, because these firearms are heavy, and if you're carrying a gun, you need a firm, strong, supportive belt on your waist. What I've been carrying with for, I'll show you guys here, for the last almost 5 years, 4.5 years, is this Supreme Appendix belt from Next Belt. Yeah, you can see a little bit worse for wear, a little bit floppy, a little bit saggy, a little bit, worn out around the edges and things. But I'll tell you guys, the belt has not been changed. The buckle actually wore out almost a year ago. The buckle, wore out. I reached out to Next Belt. They were kind enough as a courtesy to send me a replacement buckle so I could replace that and keep the belt going. But for 4.5 years, these are like $60 or $65. Originally, this was the Warrior Poets Society edition one. That is the buckle that broke. So you got this kind of this like rhino liner looking black buckle on here, but a fantastic option. And you can tighten it, and if you need to loosen it, there's a little button on the bottom you press, and you can loosen it or take it off altogether. So that way, if you have a big meal or something, you can let it out a little bit. And if you need to tighten things up, because maybe your holsters flop around a little bit too much, or you lost some weight, rather than buy a whole new belt or something, you can go ahead and just tighten that back up. And it's really, if you hold the button down, it's pretty silent as you're adjusting it. So it's very discreet for that. So if you're going and sitting in the movie theater, you want to let yourself out a little bit so you can relax, watch the movie with your firearm. And then as you get up, you just go ahead and, oh, there we go. You're adjusted and you're ready to go. I did recently just get a new one. My wife got me this for a Valentine's Day gift. So here's another one. You can see there's the Warrior Poet buckle on it. You can size these down. You can see the little white marks on it. You can size it to your approximate need and range. They're fantastic belts for the money. I know there's a lot of good belts out there, but these are fantastic. And if you just look at how rigid these are out the box, brand new, that's pretty good, and it's very comfortable. I've had no issues with it. Like I said, 4.5, closer to 5 years than not, carrying this belt, wearing this belt, and it has not failed me once. So I can't recommend that enough. So this is what I've been carrying as my first line EDC for the last several years in different variations and iterations. But past that, what do I carry on my second line kit? What happens if I'm leaving the house for an extended period of time because I work from home? I don't take far trips away from the house. I don't leave every day. What do I carry if I feel like I'm going to be out of the house for several days, or there is need to be concerned and carry extra supplies with me? Let's get into that. So just as we talk about first line and second line gear with our duty belts and our plate carriers and things like that, your EDC can also have a second line and a first line. Well, we just got through things you're going to carry on your person that are always within your immediate reach. That's your first line. Your second line, at least in my opinion, would be items that you carry with you that maybe you have in a bag or stowed, maybe sometimes in your vehicle, but they're not immediately within access, and they're kind of an escalated set of contingency options that you have with you as a just in case. So the way I prefer to address this is through something like this Vertex, I think this is their Commuter 2.0, I believe, sling bag. In the back of it, I actually have inserted a 3A soft armor panel from Premier that's made specifically to fit within this bag. And you can carry additional supplies with you that you may not need on your person all the time, but can help you guys in situations where there's that escalated need. Now, we did get into this quite a bit in a video previously before the election talking about what you might expect. So we're not going to go quite as in depth as we just did, but wanted to talk about this as it's still an important part of your everyday carry. So in a bag like this one opens up and it's got a little latch down here that prevents it from just opening up, so you yard sale all of your gear and everything. But I did want to take the opportunity to unclip it and open up to show you guys kind of what is in here. So you can see it's a little bit of a firm panel back here. That's because the armor's in it. And then you can see I have two 10-round mags. These are the OEM Glock 43X mags. So while they're not as high a capacity as these S15s might be, this is still an additional 20 rounds of ammunition. So if I have 31 rounds on my person plus an additional 20, that's 51 rounds of 9mm hollow point. If I can't solve my problems with 50 rounds, a whole regular sized box of ammo, there's bigger issues at hand here. And I like these because, or I like this carrier actually, because it's made by Maxpedition, which is a great company that makes tremendously quality gear. But you can see it Velcros in the back. So I can actually unvelcro and adjust these loop sizes. So if I want to carry slightly thicker magazines because I'm carrying my 19, maybe it's the winter or the fall or something, I can do so. And you can also make them smaller. So if I lose my mind and decide I want to carry a 1911 in 45, I can do that with this. And the whole backing is done in Velcro, so I can just stick that on here and I am good to go. Additionally, I have a Kydex tourniquet holder. This one is Velcro backed. This is from Eclipse Holsters. Got this years ago from them, and it holds a cat tourniquet really, really well. So just like we were talking about with the everyday carry tourniquet that Snake Staff Systems makes, North American Rescue makes the cat. This is the gold standard. This one is staged, ready to go, and is just sitting in this pouch here, ready to be deployed. You don't have to fight with it. All good. Then we have this Vertex Velcro and elastic holder. So I just have some things thrown in here, some trauma shears, an Israeli bandage, some extra gauze, and then some chem lights because you don't know what kind of conditions, austere environment you may find yourself in. And all of this, if I were to swing the bag around over my shoulder, would be presented immediately to me. And these are already angled so I could reload from here if I so chose or so needed. Now moving up, there's an additional pouch here that we can open up to. If I can. And this is an additional storage pocket. And again, here's a Velcro pouch that I can go ahead and remove. This is another Maxpedition pouch, and inside this is just some additional gauze, gloves, medical supplies, so that if I did need to use this as sort of a blowout kit, I have that in addition to what I carry in my vehicle. Phone charger, just because sometimes you need that. And then I have some survival tools in here, things like a compass, emergency blanket, things like that. That in the event that I might need something like that, I have it available immediately. And then in the front pocket here, you can unzip these. This whole front pocket opens up. I have a small travel battery bank that isn't the best, but it will do in a pinch if I needed to get a quick charge on my phone. I do have a hank here just to wipe off lenses or glasses or clean my hands, whatever I needed to use this for. And then an old school analog map, because whether you're in your vehicle or on foot, having a map of your area of operation is never a bad idea. You can order these, you can buy them in stores like Barnes & Noble. If you're on the road, the Welcome Centers on the road, at least coming into Michigan, they have maps like this for free. It's a little bit smaller, but it's still free, and it's still a great resource to have, because again, if your GPS isn't working or if you're in some place where you can't get a cell signal, having a map never hurt anyone. And because you have the map, I also have a couple Sharpies in here in case you need to take notes or mark down times or anything on that tourniquet. I have a regular and a fine point Sharpie, just because I'm a man who likes options. So good things to have, good things to carry on you, and gives you a point of escalation should things go awry and you need to have those alternatives available to you. Not saying you have to do it this way. This is just the way that I do it. So I hope this has been helpful for you guys, and at the very least enjoyable. Again, if you guys did like this content, make sure you hit the subscribe and notification button so you don't miss out on our future videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.